Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship.
And I take it that you weren't invited.
I didn't know there was an invitation until you told me.
Yeah, so that begs the question of whether or not people agree that in a public space for a public ceremony, if we need to be invited.
I am inviting myself. That is all I've got to say about the matter.
As Remembrance Day quickly approaches, I want to know, do we remember? First World War ended on Monday, November 11th, 1918 at 11 a.m. on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. We still commemorate that armistice and honor the sacrifices of those who fought for our freedom on Remembrance Day. But this year, will we even be allowed to? I'm Tamara Ugolini for Rebel News, bringing you the oddity of an invite-only Remembrance Day ceremony in many places. Here in Cobourg, Ontario, the local health overlords, that's the Haliburton Kawartha Pine Ridge District Health Unit, have outlined, due to COVID-19, Remembrance Day ceremonies will be much different this year. Many of the usual Remembrance Day services and events in this area are being cancelled, reduced in size, or limiting participants to those invited. And Mayor John Henderson has certainly heeded that warning. Here's what he had to say in his column in the local newspaper. That's the Northumberland News. Published on November 5th, he said, Remembrance Day will be acknowledged with a small, invite-only ceremony at the Victoria Park Cenotaph. It will be available through a live stream broadcast on the Town of Cobourg's YouTube channel. So we're now being told that we have to be invited to a public space to engage in a public ceremony. Seems just a teeny bit elitist, no? But it's for your own safety. Being outdoors with wind, the ultimate ventilation system, and the looming threat of a virus with a recovery rate of 99.5% or higher for people under the age of 69, as per the CDC, a virus that's so deadly, remember that you have to be tested to even know that you have it. We're all too scared of the coronavirus to take one day outdoors to honor people who were brave enough to fight the Nazis and then the Taliban. It's embarrassing. So anyway, I'm here at the Cenotaph in Victoria Park, Cobourg, and I'm going to head out and see how the general public feels about restricting public access to a public outdoor ceremony as the alleged global pandemic hysteria continues. All right, I found some rebels in the wild here. So you can see Josh has his mask exemption button alive and well. Now, Josh, how do you feel about the Remembrance Day ceremony being invite only here tomorrow at the Cenotaph in Victoria Park?
I think it's an insult to our veterans that paid the ultimate sacrifice for our rights and privileges and freedoms. And for them to say that in a public park full of open space that we can't adhere to social distance measures and pay our respects in person is it's an insult.
And this is supposed to be a public ceremony in a public park. I mean, who calls the shots that that's it all of a sudden becomes an invite-only situation?
Well, apparently Mayor Henderson called this shot, so little disappointed in his decision on this matter, but then again, I've been disappointed in most of their decisions in this area regarding everything, closure of the beach and all these draconian measures that they're putting in place. So I'm not surprised with their past bad decisions that they made this one.
Not having lived here or not living here, I mean, I understand the thought behind it, but it's definitely going to be a different feel, I would imagine, for people who are used to coming and having this more free way to express their remembrance. And yeah, to put a limitation on that, I'm sure some people will feel it differently.
I think, well, in COVID, that's the way that it has to be, so it's awesome that they're at least going to televise it for everybody to watch from home.
I think it's the only responsible decision that could have been made.
Yes. And we all will have our own remembrance at the time tomorrow.
Define invite. I'm going to come down and I'm going to stand somewhere in this park. I have a relative who died in the First World War, and I will come down just to remember him.
And I take it that you weren't invited.
I didn't know there was an invitation until you told me.
Yeah, so that begs the question of whether or not people agree that in a public space, for a public ceremony, if we need to be invited.
I am inviting myself. That is all I've got to say about the matter.
How do you think that the veterans or the people who made the ultimate sacrifice in World War I and then, of course, consecutive wars would feel about being told that a public ceremony is invite only?
I think you'll find that there's just one answer to that, which I'm not going to go into right now.
Would they maybe be rolling in their graves?
No comment. You figure it out.
How do you think the people who paid the ultimate price in war would feel knowing that a public ceremony at a public park was being mandated as an invite-only situation?
I would assume that they'd be rolling over in their graves, because I'm pretty sure they went overseas to fight a government that was doing exactly what our government is starting to do to us now.
I mean, it's hard to, of course, put words in people's mouths, but like, we live in a different time, and I think that we have the luxury to do something like this, and that's how I kind of see it, is that we're making decisions based on the luxury that we aren't in a situation like they were. Yeah, I'm not sure what they would say, because I think it's such a different time. But I mean, I just think that it's like you said, there's a lot of space, so I think there would be room to have people come, as long as they were staying separate from one another. Yeah.
Well, I think they would probably be sensible enough to realize that this is a good option, although it's not what we would want to do every year. But I think it is very a common sense thing to do, unfortunately, in the situation we're in.
I don't think it matters. I think the veterans know, or they realize, that people are going to remember in their own way, regardless if they're at the memorial cenotaph or at home. Doesn't matter, as long as they remember.
Do you think there is enough space there that maybe that people could be distanced enough?
They can go at any time that they want, so they can go out. If they can't go during the actual service, go before, go after, and have your moment when there's less people, and do it that way even.
Well, I've been quite impressed by how most of the people that use the park have been watching out for distancing and so forth. So I think in general people will try to observe that as much as they can.
Josh, in your opinion, especially being an outdoor ceremony, is there enough space here to distance and stay away from any crowds that may start to gather at the Remembrance Day ceremony?
There's more than enough space. If you look around here, it's nothing but space. There's several football fields worth of space. We can accommodate hundreds of people from this local area to come down and pay their respects in person without conflicting on anybody's social measure fear.
It seems as though different demographics have different views. On one hand, people view this restriction as sensible and necessary, obviously buying into the fearful narrative seen by many mainstream news outlets. And others, well, they feel there is no inherent risk of being outdoors in a large public green space to honor and commemorate lives lost over a century ago. For Rebel News, I'm Tamara Ugolini. If you question whether a dried up baby wipe or a simple paper towel will filter out an invisible virus, and you want to show that you're exempt from wearing these questionable homemade facial apparatuses, get your own catchy mask exemption button like the one I have here at maskexemption.ca. You can order yours today, and again, that's maskexemption.ca.